Welcome to Thoughts and Theories. Have you ever had that strange feeling that something about the world just doesn't feel right? Maybe it was déjà vu. Maybe it was that eerie moment when you thought of someone and they called seconds later. Or perhaps it's the more ordinary sense that everything around you feels a bit too perfect, too designed, too organized to be entirely random. Some scientists and philosophers argue that this feeling might not just be imagination. It could be evidence that we're living inside a simulation. Now, the simulation theory sounds like science fiction, but it's one of the most serious philosophical and scientific ideas discussed today. The theory basically says that our reality, everything we see, touch, and experience, might not be real in the physical sense. Instead, it could be a highly advanced computer simulation created by beings far more intelligent than us. To many, that sounds crazy at first. But let's unpack it carefully. The first serious argument for the simulation theory came from philosopher Nick Bostrom at Oxford University in 2003. He didn't say we are in a simulation. Instead, he offered a logical argument showing that one of three things must be true. First, either civilizations like ours never survive long enough to reach a stage where they can simulate entire worlds. Second, even if they can, they choose not to simulate conscious beings for moral or ethical reasons. Or third, and this is the wild one, if advanced civilizations can and do run simulations, then it's almost certain that we are living inside one right now. Why? Because if even one advanced civilization creates billions of simulated worlds, the number of simulated beings will vastly outnumber the number of real ones. In that case, statistically, the odds that we're among the few real beings instead of the many simulated ones are extremely small. This isn't a mystical or religious claim. It's a mathematical one. It's about probability. And it's a probability that many scientists take seriously. Even tech figures like Elon Musk have said there's a 1 in billions chance that our world is base reality, that is, the original physical universe. So how could we even begin to think about this? Let's start with what we already know about our own technology. In the last 50 years, video games have evolved from simple blocks of light in Pong to stunningly realistic virtual worlds in games like Red Dead Redemption or Starfield. Modern game worlds have weather systems, animal behavior, and characters that respond emotionally to the player. Now imagine what those worlds will look like in another 1,000 years, or 1,000,000. If human technology keeps improving, it's not hard to imagine that one day, simulations could become indistinguishable from reality. Players could walk through virtual worlds that feel completely real. They could interact with intelligent digital beings who don't even know they're simulated. If we could eventually create worlds like that, then what's to say that someone else hasn't already done it, and we're living inside theirs? Here's another thought. Everything in our world, at the smallest level, follows patterns that look strikingly mathematical. The universe runs on rules, laws of physics that never change. Energy, matter, time, and space all follow equations, as if written into a code. If you look deep enough into nature, you'll find mathematical order everywhere, from the spiral of galaxies to the structure of DNA. It's almost as if the universe is running a perfect algorithm. Now that doesn't prove we're in a simulation, but it does raise an eyebrow. Why should reality behave like a computer program? Why are the rules so exact, so consistent, and yet capable of producing such complex results? Some scientists argue that these laws could be evidence of an underlying computational structure, a cosmic software that runs our world. Think about how pixels make up a video game. To the player, everything looks smooth and real, but if you zoom in close enough, you'll see the grid. In the same way, when physicists study space and time at the smallest scale, at the level of quantum particles, they notice that reality itself seems to come in discrete chunks, not continuous waves. It's like discovering that space and time are made up of tiny pixels of energy. Some have taken this as a possible clue. If our universe is digital rather than continuous, that could mean it's built on code, just like a computer simulation. But not everyone agrees. Many scientists think the simulation theory is fascinating but unfalsifiable. That means there's no clear way to test it. If we can't detect the computer running the simulation or the programmer behind it, how can we ever prove or disprove it? Still, others believe there might be ways. For instance, If the universe is simulated, it might have limits, just like a video game has boundaries or frame rates. Maybe those limits appear as the speed of light, which is the fastest possible speed in our universe. Or maybe the strange behavior of quantum particles, which seem to act differently when observed, could be a kind of rendering system, like a computer only rendering detail when the player is looking. This idea, that quantum mechanics behaves like a rendering engine, sounds wild, but it's eerily similar to what we see in games. In a complex open-world game, the system doesn't render everything at once. It only processes what the player can see to save computing power. If reality works like that, it could mean something similar is happening, an efficient system running only what's needed to maintain the illusion of continuity. Now let's think about consciousness. If we are simulated beings, our minds would be part of the code. But what is consciousness really? We know that our thoughts, emotions, and awareness come from the brain, a biological computer. The brain processes signals, stores information, and reacts to inputs. So if consciousness can emerge from physical computation, could it also emerge from digital computation? Could a simulation produce beings that genuinely feel and think like we do? Some scientists believe yes. If consciousness is the result of information processing, then any system capable of that complexity could, in theory, become conscious. That means simulated beings wouldn't know they're simulated because to them, their experiences would feel entirely real. Pain would feel real. Joy would feel real. Time would feel real. But if that's the case, it opens up deep ethical questions. If an advanced civilization can create conscious simulations, would they have moral obligations toward their creations? Would deleting a simulation be the same as ending billions of conscious lives? These questions stretch far beyond philosophy and touch the edge of what it means to be real. Let's pause here for a moment and look at our own world. We're already creating virtual realities that mimic consciousness. Think of AI systems that learn, talk, and even express emotions. These systems aren't conscious in the human sense, yet, but they're getting closer. Every year, we see AI-generated art, conversation, and decision-making that feels almost human. It's not hard to imagine a future where AIs can think and feel in ways indistinguishable from us. If humans eventually create such systems, then it's not impossible to imagine that we ourselves were created in the same way, by someone else. Still, there's an alternative explanation. Some argue that the reason the universe feels designed isn't because it's simulated, it's because that's how nature works. Our brains evolved to find patterns, even when none exist. That's why we see faces in clouds or hear meaning in random noise. The simulation theory might simply be our modern way of expressing that same instinct, to search for design in a chaotic universe. But the theory still captivates people because it sits at the crossroads of science, philosophy, and technology. It's a modern myth, but one that uses logic instead of faith. Now, before we continue to the deeper implications, like what this means for free will, morality, and the purpose of existence, let's ask a simple question. If we are in a simulation, why would someone create it? That's where things get really interesting.